Hello, thanks for joining us today in this Meinberg tutorial, in which we'll be taking a look at how to configure notifications under LTOS for your LANTIME or SyncFire device. We'll be assuming that you already have network access configured on your device. If you don't, we also have a tutorial to help you with that, for which you can click on the link shown here. Also make sure all devices receiving these notifications, trap receivers, mail servers and so on, are reachable by your LTOS device. So we'll begin by clicking on the Notification tab. This brings up all of the various notification settings: Syslog, email via SMTP, SNMP Traps, and the Meinberg VP100 Net LED display. But let's start with Syslog. Let's open up the external Syslog server tab. Basically anything that can be logged in Syslog on a LANTIME can be forwarded to a remote Syslog server. As you see, you can configure up to 4 external Syslog servers via the web interface. Note that by default, Syslog servers are pinged over ICMP to check if they are reachable, and will only be registered in the system if they are. So if your network policy or firewall configuration blocks ICMP, you may need to disable these ping tests. You can find more information about this in the LTOS configuration and management manual. So we'll enter the IP address like so. Next up is the minimum log level. This allows us to control the amount of log data that is forwarded to the server. So if we set, let's say, warning, only Syslog messages that are graded warning or higher are forwarded. As you can see, info messages are typically saying all is well. Warnings are situations where the device is still functioning, but the administrator should perhaps look into it, while errors are situations where the system is no longer fully functional and urgent attention is needed. So let's go back to the Syslog panel. We'll set this to warning, which strikes a good balance between a manageable and meaningful flow of information. The transport protocol and port specify how Syslog messages are sent. Make sure that your Syslog server is configured to expect these. UDP port 514 is pretty much the standard, but you can also send messages over TCP, and it's also possible to send them encrypted over TLS, for which you must have a certificate configured. If you want to have the certificate of the Syslog receiver verified, you can also enable TLS peer verify here. The drop-down menu forward provides a few different formatting options for how log messages are forwarded, while the time zone option adjusts the offset for the timestamp sent with each message. Now we'll close the Syslog panel and open up the email information panel. Your LANTIME can also send emails to defined recipients to inform them about certain system events. And as you can see, this is a fairly standard SMTP form. Recipient email address, sender email address. You can have mail sent unencrypted, for which you select simply SMTP, or you can select SSL or TLS, for which you'll need to have uploaded a corresponding certificate. The smart host is of course the address of your relay server, and if your smart host uses a non-standard port, you can change that here. Most smart hosts of course require authentication, and you can enable that and enter the credentials here. And if you want to send the email notifications to multiple recipients, you can enter more in this box and click on Add. Just as a heads up, you will need to explicitly define which notifications should be sent by email by selecting each event type in the email column in the Notification Events panel. This is especially useful for ensuring that your inbox is not flooded with messages that you don't need to respond to. Let's move on to SNMP Traps, and for that we'll open up the SNMP Trap Receiver panel. Now your LANTIME can send so-called traps over SNMP, and you can define up to 4 trap receivers in this panel. We'll start by entering the IP address or host name of the trap receiver. If you're using SNMP v1 or v2c, you'll need to enter your community string. If you're using v3, then you will need to configure your security parameters under the Security tab right here. A word of caution about these last two options: number of retries and timeout. Unlike SNMP inform messages, SNMP traps are a stateless message, which means that LTOS has no way to know if a trap has been successfully sent. In other words, a retry in this case is just the same message being sent several times, waiting this number of seconds between each dispatch. Each message will have the same timestamp and content. Just be mindful that your trap receiver must be able to handle and discard duplicates accordingly. You can also have LTOS send a regular heartbeat as an SNMP trap by opening up the miscellaneous panel, selecting the checkbox Enable SNMP Heartbeat, and selecting how frequently this heartbeat trap should be sent. You can then configure your trap receiver to respond accordingly if it doesn't receive this trap at regular intervals. Remember, you will need to enable each notification type under the SNMP column under Notification Events. And also, very important, do check that SNMP is enabled for the appropriate network interfaces under Network Services. Moving on to the VP100, which is Meinberg's NTP synchronized LED display. Typically used in control centers or control rooms to display the date and time. It can also accept and display LTOS notifications so that everyone in the room sees immediately when the LANTIME is no longer synchronized, for example. The configuration is simple. You enter the IP address or host name of the VP100 display and the corresponding serial number of the display. And if you have a second display, you can configure it here. And same procedure, you'll need to enable each notification type that you want displayed on the VP100 under Notification Events, this time under DISP. Briefly moving back to the miscellaneous panel that we saw a moment ago. There's an option that you'll only see if you have a PZF type clock, and that's Delay Not Sync, Antenna Connection Fault Messages. Because long-wave signals are a little more prone to interference and outages than GNSS, making brief periods of desynchronization more likely, you may want to suppress notifications that the clock has lost its signal for this defined period, essentially accepting that the clock may run in holdover for a little while. So if we enter, say 180 here, LTOS will wait for 3 minutes to see if it can resynchronize to the PZF signal before sending notifications to this effect. Now we've already encountered the Notification Events panel. We'll just finish by looking at the few options we haven't covered yet. As you can see, we have the different event types relating to the system. So power supplies, network connectivity, the reference clock, the NTP server, PTP if your device is PTP capable, SyncMon and if you have an IMS system, information on the IMS slots. We've covered the meanings of the email, SNMP and display slots, but there's also a few left we haven't covered. User is an incredibly powerful option that allows a shell script to be executed in the background whenever this event is triggered. A LED is the physical alarm LED on your device, and this is only available for certain events. The MMS column is for use in digital substations with IEC 61850, sending alerts over the manufacturing message specification protocol. And if your device has one or several error relays, the relay columns for each connector will have the selected events switch the appropriate relay to an error state. And that's about it for notifications in LTOS. We've only really covered the essentials, but you can read about each topic in more depth in the LTOS configuration and management manual, which we've linked in the description for this video. And if you have any questions or need further assistance, don't hesitate to contact our technical support team, who are just a phone call or email away. We hope this video has been helpful. In which case, please give us a quick like or comment below to let us know. And remember to subscribe to the Meinberg YouTube channel to be kept in the loop when we post new tips, tricks and tutorials. Thanks for watching.